I think we have a pretty good crew here. We have, thank you, Trish. Things rolling. Larry's here, so that's good. We can check that worry off. Sorry, Larry, that's what you get. We've got 113 people here. So I think this is as good a time as any. Becky, thank you for joining us and take it away.
All right. Thank you, Todd. Thanks for being here, everybody. So what I would like to do to start with is invite Donna Castro to give you a few updates. I think people are anxious and interested to hear a little bit about the salary study and some things like that. And I decided that it's always better if Donna talks about those things because we're still in the phase where we can say things, but not all things. And I just think it's better and safer if Donna addresses those things with you now. So Donna, if you're here, please go ahead. Is she here yet?
Thank you, Dr. Rowley.
There you are. Thanks, Donna.
Thank you. Let me see here. Good afternoon, everyone. So right now the committee has completed review of the proposals submitted. We received 5 proposals from different vendors, and we have also concluded the interviews with the top 3 vendors. The committee will have a final meeting early next week to review the selected vendor. Then John Apalaka, the Director of Purchasing, he will contact all the vendors to advise them that the college has made a selection. At that point, John will work with the final vendor to finalize the contract. Then at that point, we're going to be able to announce the selected vendor to the campus community. Once that is complete, the compensation study will begin. And one of the things that we did put in the RFP is that the vendor will work with us to develop a communication plan so that we can ensure that all staff and faculty are aware of the progress of the project at every stage of the project. And throughout the project, we hope to have the vendor on campus to have meetings with employees. So we're very excited. We're at the tail end of the process, and now we just have to work on the contract.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Donna? I asked Donna to come in on her day off to be able to talk to all of you about this. So I feel like if we have questions for her, it'd be nice to be able to get those to her early in the meeting.
And also, Dr. Rowley, I'm going to stay throughout the meeting. So if there's anything even in the chat, I'll go on ahead and respond there as well.
Okay. Thank you, Donna. Okay. And thank you for your leadership and your expertise on shepherding the project through to this point, because there are a lot of rules to follow and it's a very detailed structure. And so we, Donna's been working with the committee to select the best vendor, and we will do that. And then we will go ahead. And I believe, Donna, what you told us previously is that once we're ready to go, that it's typically about a 16-week process.
That is correct.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And once the vendor's selected, we will even finalize the project plan, and we will communicate that to everyone so that everyone's fully aware of what we're doing and where we are at each point of the project.
That is fantastic, and really that'll make a big difference, I think, for everybody. So Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so what I'd really like to spend a few minutes talking about, and part of this is because I think I have my own confusion, and as I hear from different places that there's a little bit of confusion kind of about what's going on with the Workday project and with chess and what will happen. So one of the things that I'm going to try to clarify a little bit in a minute is the relative authority that different groups have to do anything, and where Santa Fe Community College fits into this fairly complicated structure, I would say, of decision making and everything in moving ahead and trying to build the student information system. So just to kind of remind you where we are. We were Santa Fe Community College, Clovis, CNM, CNM and Northern were all part of the wave one for the ERP, which was finance and HR and payroll. And so that work was all completed a year ago. And so we are, I think they call us in the stable phase, but I think there might be people who would kind of grin at that characterization. But we're still, finding things that could be improved within the system, should have been done, or we thought they were being done a certain way. And so this will go on, I don't know, maybe till the end of time. I hope not quite that long. But I know that Amy Pell works with the folks at CNM and Clovis, especially all the time, trying to figure out how things can be configured in different ways and how we can make our processes what we want them to be. So that is wave one ERP. Wave two ERP is San Juan College and Luna Community College. And so they just went live on Workday Finance, HR, and Payroll end of December, beginning of January this year. So they are really still trying to figure out how all of this works. Now, as they implemented these things, they took the work that had already been done in the first iteration, and now we're all in the same, we're still all in the same instance. We just have more colleges that are all in the same Workday tenant. And I think that's an important thing to understand, that it's not like we're all just implementing Workday together. We all have the same Workday, basically. And then there are, people will have varying levels of access and things like that, depending upon your role. So the big thing now is the student information system. And as you will probably recall, we decided, the chess board, which is made up of the presidents of all of the colleges that are involved in the project. And so one of the things that I kind of wanted to clarify is that I hear sometimes, well, chess is doing this and chess is doing that. And I don't always think people know who chess is. So there are various pieces of chess, and it is important who is doing what and who is making what decisions. So the product that we bought is Workday. And that is, it's a product that Santa Fe Community College would not have been able to have had we not been part of the collaborative known as chess. So chess is the larger collaborative with all of the colleges in it, but there are also chess employees. And so chess, the organization, has a CEO, a CFO, a chief operating officer, a handful of project managers, a change management manager, and then there may be then also a payroll staff. And so there's a payroll director, and then various people that do payroll for chess. So when we talk about moving through the SIS system, there are lots and lots of meetings going on right now to look at the various facets of a student information system. So what is going to be involved in all this? Obviously, the student pieces that we have now in Banner will be included in the Workday model. So the obvious things like the admissions piece, the financial aid, our application, any kind of recruiting things that we have, advising pieces, and all of that will obviously be included in there. One thing that you probably have heard about Workday, and some of you may be alarmed about this, and depending upon the day, I might say that I was, about different pieces, but it's also exciting. So the student the whole student system in Workday is comprised of a whole bunch of different modules, sort of like the ERP pieces, but the student piece is about 1 million times more complicated than the finance and payroll part. And so what's happening is that we're looking at what all these modules are, looking at what we currently have in Banner, and trying to figure out what should we be doing. And Workday, as a vendor of a student system, is still kind of developing their student system. They have a student system. There are colleges that are live on Workday Student, but they recognize that they are not where they want to be with this product. And so one of the things that, we have in our agreement with them is that we have input into the direction that Workday Student will go, and how Workday Student is developed. So right now, Thomasina is one of the leads on developing the student module, and this is a huge task, and something that we're fortunate to have one of our key college people involved this deeply, because it really does mean that we're right in the decision-making process. So when people talk about well, Chess is deciding this and Chess is deciding that, I want to be real clear that who's making these decisions are people from our colleges. So the Chess staff that's, doing all these other things is not making decisions about any of this. They are in the room as these meetings happen. And I've just been informed that what Chess, the higher level organization, is instructing its project managers to do is, if they're having discussions and conversations and after a couple of meetings things are stuck or they're not going forward, the project managers are supposed to not exactly escalate, but let everybody know that we're kind of running into difficulty. So the people that are making decisions about every piece of this that's going into development, they're our own college staff. Now, the vendor, Workday as our vendor, is making a whole lot of recommendations, and they have a product that we're implementing. So it's not like we just get to go in and say, Workday, make this, do this. I think we might have thought that at one point, and it might not have been good if we could do it that way. So what we're doing is implementing the system that they've already designed, but we're implementing it in a multi-institution instance. So things have to be changed and configured in ways so that Santa Fe Community College gets what it needs. CNM, which has many, many more layers of complexity than we do, gets what they need to a certain extent, and that we're still bringing up to sort of a higher level of complexity and sophistication colleges like Luna, Clovis, and we did this with Northern and ERP, so that they can do things that they would have never been able to do before. So as the SIS people are working ahead, and as I was saying a minute ago, so the SIS schedule is now 4 years from now. And that decision was made for a couple of different reasons. Not just because we wanted it to be more expensive, but because most of all, so that all 6 colleges could be on the same time schedule. Northern is still kind of not sure where they're going to be with the student piece of it. I think the issue is that they don't really feel like they have the capacity to do this right now, but they also are now a Workday college, and they are buying Workday. So if they don't come along at some point, and maybe there will be another wave of student in a few years, that they could come in on that, which is what they kind of indicated. But now we have San Juan definitely in the mix, and that is a big benefit to us, because they bring a lot to the table. So there will, down the road, but there is not in existence at this point, there will be, and I can't even remember exactly what it's called, but it's something like an academic policy committee. And they've had some initial meetings, but it's not really, their work will kind of be in tandem with what the other SIS stakeholder groups are doing. And that academic policy committee will be, and again, that will be made up of people from our colleges that are in leadership positions. So Margaret's on that committee. And then she may have designees that are also on that committee. But that they will be looking at academic policies and making decisions for individual colleges, but in doing that with an eye to how this all affects the whole group. So for example, if they're looking at how, a particular transfer policy works, we don't have to necessarily change our policy to fit the group, but we might want to. Somebody else might want to. And so by having these conversations where we're all looking at all of these elements together and saying, and we all hear rumors about how everybody does things, but now we're looking at it right in front of us. This is how Clovis does it. This is how CNM does it. This is how Santa Fe does it. What is the best way? And so Workday provides some guidance to us. And then we also have a contract with an outside vendor called Campus Works, which Campus Works they help use technology to solve problems. They're not an implementer. But that's what they really do. They look at large technology systems like Banner, like Workday, like Anthology, whatever, and look at how you could use those tools to better calibrate the processes on your own campus. So they're also trying to help us. They've been working with CHESS from the very, very, very beginning with all of the colleges and with the CHESS staff and the leadership team. And so they're really giving us a lot of guidance in terms of, okay, what should this look like? This is the best way to structure the admissions application. And in some cases, that's going to mean we all do the same thing or pretty close to the same thing. And in other instances, it might not. But I want to assure you that as those decisions are being made by us, they're not being made by somebody at a different organization who is saying, well, we want you all to do this and we don't care what you're doing right now because this is how it's going to be. That's not the case. Now, there may be some things that are not related to academic policy that we implement in a certain way because that's the system we bought. We own Workday. And so we will, we use Workday and in all of its configurations. There's a really stratified area, layers of decision making within this entire project. So we have groups that are working together pretty much every day. I think I heard the other day that it was something like 32 hours a week. So that's about as intense as it can get. And so they're working and figuring out what they want. If there is disagreement in those groups, that disagreement or inability to reach consensus or even to figure out what the next step is gets escalated to a higher group. And if it doesn't get resolved, then it'll eventually get to a steering committee and then eventually to the CHESS board. I don't think anything's really gotten to that point yet. And I don't really know that it will, but Workday has developed this schedule and this system of committees for us because they know how to implement this big, gigantic, complicated system that they have. And I said a minute ago that we wouldn't have Workday if we weren't part of this collaborative, because Workday only bid on projects that are of a certain scope. So they're not ever going to bid on a small college that says, yeah, we'd really like to have Workday, maybe someday, but certainly not now. And so they know how to do this. And, again, when they make proposals, we talk to them. But we've, for the most part, gone with their structure with a few tweaks here and there in terms of looking at all that. So there will be conversations that come up. There will be there will be decisions that the groups that are currently working on the student system may bring back to other sectors of the campus and say, this is what we're looking at doing. Does this work for us? And it may be that there are some, things that are just sort of we're going to go along with because that's what's going to be the most efficient way to handle a process in Workday. One of the areas that we've done a lot of extra work on trying to figure out financial aid and looking at how we can be more integrated on the compliance part of financial aid, not like having students come into the office, not figuring out how to serve them or anything like that, but looking at a lot of the compliance piece that every office has to do. And some offices have a really hard time doing it because they don't have enough people. And looking at how we can make some efficiencies with that and spend our time on really the high touch areas and helping students, and spend our time really doing the things that matter and being able to kind of mitigate some of the more manual processes, because that's really what using Workday is all about. So I think I'll stop there on this particular topic and see if anybody has any particular questions. Just to let you know, other things, we did just implement and go live on the Workday Learning product, which is a professional development module in Workday. Santa Fe Community College implemented this with CNM. And so this is a module that we owned, and we decided we wanted to do this right now because it would give us a broader and a more robust platform for being able to roll out. Right now it's compliance-based professional development, but that's certainly, we're going to move out of compliance phase and into having other types of professional development in that particular platform very, very quickly, I think. But in addition to Workday Learning, we're also working on integrating the Lumens module that continuing ed and contract training use right now. There isn't a module in Workday for contract training or any non-credit training, but the group voted that we wanted to adopt Lumens and make Lumens available to everybody who wanted to use it. I think actually it's Modern Campus now instead of Lumens, but anyway, it's the same thing. So what we're doing is our folks are working on, and it's a smaller lift for us because we already have Lumens, but San Juan is implementing Lumens at the same time, and they're having to do this from the ground up. So we're kind of working with them, but this still gives us the opportunity, and the direction to the group is that we want best practices in our Lumens module. We don't just want, whatever, the way that we implement everything on kind of a, on a ground level basis where we haven't really figured out all the higher functionality in that system. So we're going to have a new and improved Lumens. It's not just going to be the Lumens that we have now rolled into an upgraded version. And so in working with San Juan on that implementation, they have a very robust contract training and continuing ed arm of their college. We can learn more about different things that we can do by talking back and forth with each other, which is obviously one of the huge advantages of that piece. And then the other thing that we're going to be implementing is the procurement module in Workday. And so when we first started the original, implementation in wave 1, we did not include the procurement piece. That was kind of an oversight. And so the procurement folks are working with Workday and then working with the CHESS staff and project managers to get that off the ground. I don't know what the time frame is on that, but mostly it includes a sourcing tool that is not something that we currently have. And so that'll hopefully make that process easier for all of us to handle. So does anybody have any Workday CHESS questions? it's a lot. It's a lot for everybody who's working on it. It's a lot for us as a college to accommodate all that. And 4 years for an implementation for the next wave is long and it's intense. But I realize it's easy for me to say, but it's one, except that it's, the other part of it in working with the other colleges, it's not always easy. But it's an implementation. There will be an end to it. And then things get a little easier as we go through the stabilization period. But still, it's a pretty long lead into getting a high functioning student information system. But when you see what we're going to be able to do with a new cloud-based system that is very AI determined, it's pretty remarkable. And so it really will transform our student experience. So I'll pause a minute and see if anybody has questions about that. Or you may have them in a few minutes. Okay, so a couple of other things I want to mention that just kind of a little quick legislative round, as they call them. It was kind of a weird session, I thought. It seemed pretty intense for a very short period of time, and then there really wasn't that much going on with higher ed. There were very few higher ed bills that really made it very far, and so, that makes less to track down. But just kind of the highlights, the compensation that the legislature approved and the governor signed was 3%. That was down from 4%. That was way down from what we asked for, which I can't remember, was either 7 or 8%. But that never really got much traction, I'd say. We did get, I think, all of the capital money that we asked for. So we're getting money for controlled environment agriculture, plumbing and electrical, automotive, welding. And then we did get a 2-year appropriation for the implementation of KSFR, which is our public radio station, for those of you who aren't aware of it. They've been on campus for a very long time. We have recently made the decision to absorb KSFR into the Santa Fe Community College infrastructure, so that we will now be doing their payroll. All of the people who work at KSFR will be Santa Fe Community College employees. They have previously been run by a small nonprofit, and it's time for us to embrace our radio station. We own the FCC license, so we need to take care of them, and we're getting legislative assistance to do that. So if you stop by the radio station, some of you may know the general manager and the the person in charge of the programming, Eric. But Todd Lovato will be overseeing that project, and they've kind of run themselves in the past, so I really don't think that it's going to be too much addition, other than for our payroll staff at Chess, and then the accounting and getting them into our system has been a bigger challenge. And so I really appreciate the work of finance and also HR in getting all of that together. And then we'll just roll forward like that. The last thing that I want to mention in terms of legislative funds, just so that everybody's kind of aware of what we can do. So I think you all know that we've been doing a fair amount of suicide prevention training, and we've been using the QPR curriculum. We got a small grant from Alcama to do that work. And that's, we've kind of, I think we've made some pretty good outreach and really reached a fair number of people. One of our legislators approached me and asked me if we'd be interested in doing this statewide, if we could get some funding. And if somebody gives us the funding, we can do it. Somehow or another, we got a very large amount of money. the request that I made was for like $375,000, and we've got 4 times that much. I'm not sure if it was a mistake. I'm not sure how it happened. But anyway, what we will be doing, and this, I'm saying this so that, if you know people who might be interested in working in this area. So we have a 3-year project where we will be doing this training and bringing this training and offering more train the trainer sections around the state. We will be prioritizing higher ed, but we'll also be looking at public ed. We'll be looking at faculty, staff, and students, also looking at the healthcare sector, really anyone who is interested. We will also be working in conjunction with the Department of Health, because they also do this type of training and have some funding for it. But we're looking to hire somebody to basically do this work for about 3 years. And then at that time, I think we will have trained a very high number of people in the state. And we'll have to keep track of, how many people we've trained and look at that relative to the statistics in the state. But this is going to become a little bit bigger project than what I thought. So we'll be hiring people to take care of this. Is certainly not something that our current staff has the capacity to do at all. So I want to make that clear. But if anyone's interested, you can let me know, and I'll kind of, let you know how we're doing. And so we're going to work with contract training in terms of finding somebody to be able to administer that. It looks like Cookie, you have a question?
Yeah, real quick, for that suicide training, would that be to, just a clarification, would that be to train people so that they could join law enforcement in support of a mental health crisis call around the state with police departments and fire departments? Is that kind of the goal for that? Is that correct?
That's a little bit beyond the scope of it, although we might be able to look at that, because I'm just going to tell you, we got a lot more money than what I thought we would, and I don't really know how that happened. It was just, in the budget. But, so the scope, the focus right now has been to train people like all of us that are, most of us that are non-mental health care providers, in being able to recognize the signs of somebody who might be suicidal, and to have a few tips in being able to approach somebody and to ask them if they are suicidal, and to help them get some sort of, referrals, some sort of assistance from a professional. But not that we think that we are professionals or anything like that, but we're the people. Students are the people that are more likely to come in contact with people who may be suicidal. A lot, most people who are suicidal don't ever make it to a mental health care professional. And so if we just rely on that system to be robust enough, we're never going to get there. And I've talked to my public school colleagues about this a lot too. But we could probably look at training people who would be able to respond with law enforcement, because I know that is a really big need too, because that's still not a professional type position, but it is giving somebody added skill to be able to feel comfortable in that position and know how to do and say the right thing.
Yeah.
That's a great, actually, I will, I'll work on that.
Yeah, because we can look at our law enforcement officers to come in and join that class,
Yeah.
so that they can understand, and we can get, more people trained, fire departments, police departments,
And I think
folks are interested in that.
Right. And I would say that all of those sectors are really are again people that we want to target. I don't really know who the Department of Health has been reaching out to. And I think we could probably help the Department of Health get the word out a little bit better, because the fact that we didn't even know they were doing it, we've kind of found out about that accidentally. I think we can work on letting people know that this is a resource.
Right. Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. You bet.
Thank you. So, those are really the highlights of the legislative session. The one thing that is, I would say, very different for us this year that is, I think, going to be a really tremendous asset for our students is that there is, for the first time, a 3-year commitment that we're hoping will morph into a more consistent commitment to fund non-credit training. And by that, I mean, to fund it at a high enough level to where we can offer classes to students that don't qualify under the Department of Workforce Solutions or some program through the city or the county, and we'll be able to pay tuition, and those students won't, that students who don't have the funding to be able to opt into a maybe more expensive non-credit class will not be left out. And this is at least a huge shift for our legislature in terms of recognizing non-credit, the whole non-credit area as the direction that colleges are going, the direction that students are asking for. I'm not saying we don't care about degrees and certificates anymore. We do. We want our non-credit training to link up with degrees and certificates where appropriate, but we have to recognize that the students that are not coming to us are often coming to a short-term training program that is linked up to a job. And that is what students are looking for. It is a gigantic part of the community college mission. And I'm really pleased at how well we're doing in that area. And now to have some funding and more legislative support and more support from HED, I would say, is really, really, really important. I think I might have missed a question in there. So if somebody had it, Nancy, sorry.
Hi, thank you. I have a question about the training about prevention of suicide and mental health. Are those trainings also being done in Spanish?
You know what? They haven't been, but that is the plan. And so thank you for bringing that up too, because we do want to have some Spanish trainings. And so if you know people that might be able to do that training in Spanish, and again, they do not need to be mental health professionals. They need to be fluent Spanish speakers to where they can, do the class. We can train them easily, but that is a big part of our plan rolling forward to offer the training in Spanish. So thank you for asking about that.
Yes, and I would like to help, but I am working remote, so I cannot be there right now. But I would like to recommend also that if you do it not only in Spanish, but also that is cultural, appropriate with the type of Spanish speaking person community that we have in Santa Fe and New Mexico. Because it's not going to be the same having someone that speaks Spanish or Central American Spanish.
Right.
Or Spanish from Spain. Just to recommend that. Because that's my job. I mean, I am a translator too, and that's why.
So that I may want to talk to you a little bit about this later. The other thing I would say is that, we've also talked about, the preference is not to do too much of this remotely, but we can, because one of the things, because we've gotten such robust funding, is that we can send people all around the state to do the trainings. And so, we're not going to say, okay, we're doing this training in Santa Fe, everybody from Hobbs has to come to Santa Fe. That doesn't work. So we can offer trainings in Hobbs, we can offer trainings in Farmington or wherever it is. And so and they'll be free for all of those people because we've gotten enough money to where we can just put it on and cover the cost for all of it for a large number of people.
Thank you so much. Yes, right now, like I told you, I'm working remote, but I could help doing with doing or editing the translations.
Thank you very much, Nancy. We may need you to be the brains behind that part of the operation. All right. So if anybody has any questions, any other questions about any of the stuff that I talked about, or anything else that's on your mind, or anything I forgot to talk about, or anything like that, I'm happy to try to answer those questions.
The
No,
chat here is,
Oh, okay.
how do we get involved with this, the suicide prevention training?
So, well, one thing that I want to clarify too is that the money will not be available until July 1st, and we can't spend anything before July 1st because we can't, like start now and then reimburse ourselves or anything like that. The funding is available July 1st. And so, now what we'll, be looking at is, trying to figure out, how we want to hire somebody and do that, because there's a huge coordination part that, we didn't really have to do so much when we just had a little bit of money, because we just sort of, said, well, okay, this group says they want to do it, and it kind of spread by word of mouth. But now that we're deliberately doing it, you can look for information, after July 1st. But if you've taken the training and you're interested in doing more, you can reach out to me, and I am not going to be as involved in it right now, but because we got this money, I'm kind of trying to bring all of the people together that will do this work. And so I'd be happy, to have people who are interested join up. Plus, I would say, we've had a number of academic departments who have said they wanted their students to go through the training, and we've done that. And if you decide that's something that you think your students should do too, then just, let me know, and I'll make sure that you're on the list.
Hey, Roxanne, can I put you on the spot? Will you say out loud what you put in the chat?
Yes, of course. I just want to let everyone know they're invited to the Workday Student, also called SIS, Project Kickoff, which is Tuesday, March 19th at 2 p.m. in Campus Center. You should have also gotten a link if you're not able to attend in person.
Thank you, Roxanne. That is the one thing too that I forgot to mention in all that talk about the next kickoff piece. So yes, please join us. There will be refreshments. Tony?
And giveaways.
And giveaways. Hi, Tony. Go ahead.
Sorry, getting back to the suicide prevention, Jackie Anderson and I have been trained with the QPR as trained instructors. So if anybody is interested in having us come train their students, we can do that. Feel free to contact us, and if we have time around our schedules, we'll be happy to do that.
Thank you, Tony. And I really appreciate your involvement in this, and the fact that you've brought this to your students, because I think that group is so critical, where, student peer type relationship, where people they have just better knowledge sometimes of what's going on with somebody.
Right. It's important. We just did a training last night for our students. So
Great.
Yeah, we're happy to do it for any department or any students that need it. Just let us know. They can contact me, Tony Kaufman, or Jackie Anderson, and we'll be happy to help.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, I just want to tell you, thank you all for being here for today. And thank you so much for all that you're doing for our students. This is the time of the semester where we start the countdown to spring break, and everybody, I will just say that I have received a higher number of really random complaints that I normally do that, you know, are just, I sort of feel like people that are just kind of stressed and need a break. And so I know what, I mean, I think I know a little bit about what some of you are feeling, and how students get stressed at this point in the semester. And you know, this is where they start running into problems academically and everything. So I can't thank you enough for what you do to help them reach their goals and do what they do, and do all of the work that is so important to keeping Santa Fe Community College thriving and vibrant, and really doing the really important work in our community. So thank you again. And you know, a week in advance, it's a happy spring break. And again, if there's anything that you think I need to know or do, please don't hesitate to let me know. Thanks, everyone.